It is my distinct pleasure to welcome you to this second structured press briefing of the 2026 legislative year. This engagement forms part of the continuing commitment to the Open Parliament agenda, a policy designed to strengthen transparency, promote public understanding of parliamentary business, and deepen citizens' confidence in democratic governance. Through these briefings, we seek to ensure that the people of the Gambia remain informed not only about the decisions of Parliament, but also about the processes through which those decisions are made. Today, I am pleased to provide an overview of the legislative business that will come before the National Assembly during its second ordinary session of the 2026 legislative year, scheduled to run from Monday 8 June to Wednesday 1st July 2026. During this period, the National Assembly will continue to discharge its constitutional mandates of lawmaking, oversight, representation, and accountability through an ambitious program of legislative and oversight activities. As part of our commitment to strengthening fiscal oversight and ensuring prudent management of public resources, the session will commence with a quarterly oral ministerial statement by the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs on the implementation and monitoring of the 2026 national budget. This engagement will provide members with an opportunity to interrogate budget performance, assess expenditure trends, and obtain real-time information on the utilization of public funds. In furtherance of our oversight responsibilities, the Assembly will indicate considerable time to the consideration of ministerial replies under Standing Order 100. Several ministers and public officials will appear before the Assembly to formally respond to recommendations contained in committee reports relating to state-owned enterprises, land administration, and the registration systems, foreign missions, security installations, and social welfare institutions. This process is central to ensuring that parliamentary oversight does not end with the tabling of reports, but translates into measurable executive action and institutional accountability. Distinguished members of the press, the legislative agenda before the Assembly remains both extensive and consequential. Members will consider several important bills aimed at modernizing our legal framework, strengthening public administration, enhancing national security, and supporting economic growth. Among the bills scheduled for consideration are the Gambia Immigration Bill 2026, the Urban Market Bill 2026, the Cybercrime Bill 2026, the Prerogative of Mercy Bill 2026, and the Intellectual Property Bill 2026. These legislative instruments address critical policy areas, and reflect the Assembly's determination to ensure that our laws remain responsive to contemporary governance challenges and emerging realities. A particularly significant milestone during this session will occur on Tuesday, 30th June 2026, when His Excellency, the Vice President, is expected to deliver the government's response to the report of the Special Select Committee that investigated the sale and disposal of assets identified by the Ghana Commission of Inquiry. This will represent an important moment in the Assembly's oversight journey and reaffirm Parliament's constitutional responsibility as the guardian of public accountability and the protector of the public interest. The Assembly will also consider several important motions touching on governance, institutional accountability, and human rights. Among these will be the motion for the ratification of the African Union Convention on Ending Violence Against Women and Girls, a landmark continental instrument aimed at strengthening protections for women and girls across Africa. Additionally, the Assembly will consider a motion by the Honorable Majority Leader for the establishment of a standing committee on governance assurances, a permanent mechanism designed to monitor, track, and evaluate commitments made by the executive before Parliament. This proposed reform presents a major step towards institutionalizing follow-up mechanisms and strengthening executive accountability. Honorable members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, the forthcoming session is ambitious, substantive, and reflective of a Parliament that continues to evolve in response to the aspirations of the Gambian people. The breadth of issues before the Assembly demonstrates our commitment to promoting good governance, strengthening accountability, modernizing our legal framework, and ensuring that public institutions remain responsive to the needs of our citizens. To our valued partners in the media, I once again encourage you to provide fair, balanced, and a comprehensive coverage of the proceedings. Your work remains indispensable in ensuring that parliamentary deliberations reach every Gambian, whether in Banjul, Basse, Karawan, Brikama, or within our diaspora communities abroad. The National Assembly remains firmly committed to conducting its business with professionalism, integrity, openness, and transparency. We shall continue to work diligently to uphold the confidence reposed in us by the people of the Gambia and to strengthen Parliament's role as a central pillar of our democratic governance architecture. I thank you all for your kind attention and look forward to engaging with your questions.
It is always our pleasure to welcome you to this briefing session. And of course, from an administrative perspective, the Office of the Clerk would showcase how prepared we are as a service ahead of the forthcoming ordinary session of the Assembly, which commences by next week, Monday. Of course, this engagement, as you are all aware now, is an institutionalized thing, and it forms part of our continued commitment as an Assembly service to institutional transparency, procedural predictability, as well as public accountability. It also reflects our determination to strengthen public understanding of parliamentary processes, and of course the work undertaken by the Assembly service in supporting the legislature's constitutional mandate. As a parliament, So, as Parliament prepares to convene on Monday 8, the Office of the Clerk has undertaken extensive procedural, logistical, and as well as administrative preparations to ensure that the smooth and efficient conduct of business goes free throughout this session. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as a modern Parliament, we are not only to legislate and oversee what government does, but also it must also communicate, anticipate, and prepare to respond on very important matters of state. Through these pre-session briefings, we seek to provide citizens, especially the media, with a clear procedural roadmap of the business before the Assembly, essential. In doing so, we promote transparency as well as reduce information gaps between us and yourselves, as well as encourage informed public engagement in parliamentary affairs. The program for this session has been carefully structured. Some of you are privileged with the agenda in accordance with the Constitution, our own standing orders, and as well as established parliamentary best practices. The order paper for each sitting has been strategically sequenced to ensure a balanced allocation of time between legislative business, ministerial engagements, committee oversight matters, motions, and other parliamentary proceedings. This deliberate planning is intended to maximize efficiency while safeguarding the quality of parliamentary deliberations. The legislative agenda before the Assembly is both substantial, as you could see in the agenda that has been published already, and consequential in our governance structure of the state. As it will be detailed out by the Right Honorable Speaker in a moment, several bills will be proceeded with through various stages of consideration, ranging from first, second, and third readings. To ensure the quality of legislative scrutiny, committee reports and stakeholder submissions will continue to inform parliamentary deliberations. The Assembly service remains supportive as well as committed to evidence-based lawmaking, ensuring that legislative decisions are informed by expert analysis, public consultations, and committee scrutiny. Quality legislation is not accidental as far as we're concerned. It is the product of a deliberate and well-structured parliamentary process. For us, at the technical level, a central feature of this session will be the continued strengthening of parliamentary oversight. Ministerial engagements, including oral statements and replies under the standing orders of the Assembly. We have carefully programmed all this to facilitate accountability and ensure that recommendations adopted by the Assembly receive formal responses from the Executive. This oversight mechanism remains critical to strengthening transparency, promoting responsiveness, and ensuring effective implementation of parliamentary resolutions. I just wish to highlight for your own benefit as well that a notable institutional reform that will be happening in this session as well. And that is, you could see in the agenda, there is a proposed establishment of a standing committee of government assurances. From a technical perspective, as well as an administrative and procedural perspective, this represents a significant enhancement of the Assembly's oversight architecture. Once the committee is established, it will serve as a dedicated mechanism for monitoring and, of course, tracking the implementation of committee recommendations, resolutions of the Assembly, ministerial undertakings, as well as assurances that are provided by the Executive before the House of the Assembly. This reform addresses a long-standing gap in the parliamentary oversight by ensuring that commitments made before Parliament by the Executive do not merely remain matters of record, but are systematically followed through to implementation. The establishment of a Government Assurances Committee is widely regarded as an international parliamentary best practice and is considered as an essential feature of an effective parliamentary accountability system. The Office of the Clerk, therefore, has provided the necessary procedural and, of course, technical support towards the operationalization of this important oversight mechanism, which we believe will significantly strengthen Parliament's ability to hold the executive accountable for its commitment that they made before the floor of the House. Similarly, let me just indicate that the service has coordinated and will continue to coordinate as well with relevant ministries, departments, and agencies regarding attendance of schedules, ministerial appearances, as well as statutory reporting obligations to ensure the seamless execution of parliamentary business. In line with our broader institutional reform agenda, we have also strengthened internal tracking system to monitor the progression of bills, motions, committee reports, and ministerial responses throughout this session. These measures are intended to improve efficiency, strengthen institutional memory, as well as support evidence-based parliamentary administration. The media, your very own self, remains an indispensable partner in the functioning of any democratic institution, more so Parliament. The Office of the Clerk, therefore, will continue to facilitate timely access to official documents, committee reports, order papers, procedural information throughout the session, as we believe that an informed public is fundamental to a vibrant parliamentary democracy. The second ordinary session of the 2026 legislative year is ambitious in scope, as it could be seen in the agenda, and of course significant in national importance. We are procedurally prepared, administratively ready, and of course institutionally committed to supporting a productive session that advances accountability, strengthens governance, as well as serve the best interests of the people that this assembly represents. On that note, I thank you for your kind attention and will be pleased to respond to any questions.